So I was gonna share this with you guys too, which is just crazy. I mean, we started this channel in April, um, and right now we're sitting at 328,000 views total. Yeah, and I know I never show you any of the
No,
analytics. We just react.
I know
But
this is all news to me.
that
I
just
haven't seen any of
kind of
this.
blows my mind.
That is
I
so
wouldn't think of
many.
that.
That's just so many.
Yeah,
That's so crazy.
it's insane. I don't know how to like. Yeah, so I mean, in the last 90 days, there's been over 150,000 people, like unique viewers, that have
So
seen
great.
our
That means
channel.
people who aren't subscribed.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's just so cool to see that happen and to see some of those videos hit the algorithm.
Yeah.
I think our first video that hit the algorithm was the first Ice Nine Kills video that we did.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't have any videos that had hit 1,000 views yet.
Yeah.
And we hadn't posted for like 3 weeks, and then suddenly that hit 1,000 views. And then like the next week it was at 2,000 views.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? That's when we had traveled a little bit, and then we came back, so we weren't uploading at all.
Yeah.
And then we're like, man, we got to upload some more. So that was pretty cool.
That was like right at the end of lockdown.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I figured we'd talk about some of the cool bands, like that.
Like our favorites.
Yeah, our favorites from this year that newly discovered.
Yeah, because I mean, everything we watched on this channel were bands we had never listened to before, or at least one of us hadn't listened
Yeah.
to before. And so we both got to hear tons of new music.
Yeah.
And I've come away as someone who, in the beginning of this channel, didn't have a very like wide variety of music that I did listen to. I feel like I've come away with like a lot of new favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, there's been
several.
so much, and there's been a lot that I've listened to not on the podcast, you know.
Yes. Yeah, just other music that has come through
Yeah.
because you were listening to something else.
Especially in like the metalcore scene, because that's just metalcore and deathcore. Oh yeah, but I mean that's the whole reason why we started the podcast, right? Was because we found ourselves like we've always loved metal. That's always been like our favorite music to listen to. I mean, we had metal at our wedding, right?
Yeah.
We had so much. We've gone to so many concerts, you know. But we've stuck to sort of that same. I would probably say like 20 bands total.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it hasn't been a huge
30
variety.
tops.
Yeah, and especially not within like different genres.
Yeah, no, it is pretty much straight metalcore.
Yeah. And so I mean, it was just so cool to see like all these different bands, all these different genres. Bands that I've heard of before, but never really took the time to check out.
Yes.
Cradle of Filth, right? I've heard of them forever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't till what, June that we saw them for the first, or July something.
Sometime in the fairly recent past. Yeah, Cradle of Filth is definitely on my top favorite bands. Honestly, everyone we've listened to, I have thoroughly enjoyed because one of the first artists we reacted to was Igor.
Yeah.
And top favorite simply for the fact that like he's so out of the box.
Yeah.
For like any genre. Cradle of Filth. I was thinking about it the other day. There were a few people on one of our Cradle of Filth videos that were like, how can you look like that and you've never listened to Cradle of Filth? And like they were like getting mad at me for being goth.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about like, you know, goth appearance and goth music aren't mutually exclusive. Like you can have one without the other. I saw goth people from afar
right,
as a child, and then continued to live in a very conservative world and never hung out with any goth people.
Right.
And when I started dressing more goth and expressing myself in this way is when I started hanging out with you, who listened to metalcore music. So my style was influenced literally by people I saw as a child walking down the street. And my music taste was influenced by you and the people we hung out with through high school.
Yeah.
And so I looked like this, never listening to Cradle of Filth. So I'm sorry if that offends your traditional gothic way, but here we are. That was quite the tangent. Bring Me the Horizon is another favorite.
Yeah.
I quickly fell in love with that band after Doomed.
Yeah.
I was sold. I was absolutely sold.
Well, I think it brings up a good point of the like no to gatekeeping, right?
Yeah.
I really want that to become more of a mantra on our channel of like anybody can enjoy metal music.
Because we've definitely had a few comments, not to interrupt, but we've had a few comments of people saying things like, how can you have never heard of this band?
Right.
Or saying like, well, you can't be a real fan if you have never blah, blah,
Right.
blah. And that's like total bullshit. Like,
right.
Absolutely not. Don't ever say things like that, especially here, because like this is all about learning.
Yeah. Well, and somebody had brought it up a few weeks back on a video that we did that they've learned a lot. Like they watched the videos, they listened to the music, and it wasn't something that they really enjoyed, but they've never really looked at the lyrics before. And so it was really cool to see like that aspect and to learn about that music. And I called it sort of like a metal appreciation class, you know, of just learning to appreciate what that genre of metal is doing, or you know what that particular artist is really trying to portray. And so it's been really cool to go through that. But go ahead and continue.
No, it was great. I also really loved Ice Nine Kills. Talk about another fantastic fan base.
I think that they're my favorite fan.
I think they are just some of the most like supportive people. I mean, there were a couple videos that we reacted to where I said stuff like completely wrong, and anyone would have been right to just be like, no, if you were paying any attention, it was this way, like pay attention. And everyone would like start with a compliment and be like, you guys are so nice and friendly and da-da-da. Oh, and by the way, it was actually like this, but everything you're doing is so great, and like I love watching your videos. And it was always just so nice.
There were absolutely no trolls. No trolls at all.
I was like, well, is that the trolling? Like, are they gassing me up just so later they can be like, that wasn't real?
Well, and on the album review, we had a few I guess negative comments towards a couple of songs that we just didn't enjoy, you know, for
the fish
one.
One.
Yeah, the
Hated
fish
one. Still hate it.
And I mean, that's where you would see a lot of different fan bases in different bands go in after you and say, well, you just don't understand this song, you know. But that wasn't the case at all. It was like, oh, I'm sorry you didn't like it, like, but here's why I like it, you know.
Exactly. And it was always just like, there was even one guy who was like, dang, you guys didn't like some of my favorite songs. And like that made me feel so sad. I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
You're welcome. No, it was that was so cool to see. I think but then also just discovering them in the first place. I mean, it's crazy because we love horror movies. And I love
like all the ones
metalcore,
they covered.
But
I don't know how we missed that. Like I don't know. I also really like Trivium. Trivium was another one of the early bands we reacted to that we had somehow never heard before. I feel like their style is a lot of what I listened to like when I wasn't hanging out with you. And so for me, it's so weird that I never heard of them. And they have quickly risen to the top of my playlist all year long.
The album that they put out, What the Dead Men Say, this year, is
so good.
Definitely one of my favorites. Not only just for this year, but I mean, it's a good all-time favorite.
It really is. The playthrough is great. The song progression is great. If you want to hear more about it, we did a full album review.
Yeah, we did.
We'll link it. You can watch it. And then, okay, this is my last one, and then you can talk about whatever you liked.
Okay.
Skinned. So during October, we asked for spooky stuff, and one of our early subscribers for a while, I think since like Igor videos, has been saying react to Skinned. React to Skinned. You guys are like Skinned. And we finally did over Halloween, and I am beyond obsessed. We reacted to the song Jim Jones, which is about the Jonestown massacre and the cult leader Jim Jones, and the song is so creepy.
That was
It is
really
so good.
good.
I cannot stop listening to it.
And I think there are a lot of people that are turned off because it doesn't quite fit like the metal genre.
No,
But
but it is
it's really
alternative.
good.
It is
Yeah.
alternative on a different level because it and I listened to a couple other songs by them, and the sound is still pretty alternative, but the Jim Jones one has a very like cultish
Mm,
sound to it, and I love it. It
yeah.
is it is one of my top favorite songs of the year, or of whatever we reacted to. I have no idea how old that song is. It's very old, I think.
Yeah. Um okay, and then for me, I mean, Spirit Box, holy cow. Like I never what was that, November that we listened to all those female artists?
Yeah,
And I never realized how much talent there was. How much female talent there was in metal. Like I knew of some stuff, right?
yeah,
But I never realized like how many good bands there were or how many good vocalists and Spirit Box.
ranging like a pretty large number of genres.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple genres in metal where I think female vocalists are really common,
Mhm.
um, and they're all incredibly talented. But once you break out of those like accepted
Yeah.
genres, um, you have to honestly dig a little deeper to find female vocalists.
Yeah.
And considering like all of the women we've reacted to, like the genre list is long. That was a very long-winded way of saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. No, but I like, for instance, Ginger. I really like that vocalist. I think she has more shock value.
Mhm.
And I want to listen to more of their stuff
Yeah.
for sure. And kind of get into them a little bit. But like Spirit Box, I don't know what it is. But like that sound is exactly what I was like looking for
Yeah.
or like wanting. And so that was just so cool. And then the content that they put out too. Not just about the music, it's about everything behind it.
Yeah.
So it's deep.
There's a huge story behind it. I
Yeah.
think that's pretty like that's a common thread amongst a lot of the bands we ended up falling in love with this
Yeah.
year is they're bands that tell stories. Not only do they put out really good music, but the
Mm.
music has like a lot of underlying context
Yeah.
to it.
Definitely. And then another one for me was, what was the doom metal band that
Draconian, yes.
Yeah. So Draconian was actually I realized that I do like doom metal. I've listened to a handful of doom metal stuff and I'm like, okay, like I get why people like it, but it's just not my cup of tea or whatever. But something that you don't know, I listened to that whole CD the other day.
Wow.
And yeah, it like kept my attention.
Which is funny because that was what you were saying after one of the first two metal songs we
Yeah.
reacted to. You were like, you know, like it's nice and it's good, but like it was real slow and like
Yeah.
let's move on. Let's like make some progress with
Yeah,
something.
my ADHD brain does not like doom metal much. But like this, I don't know. I don't know what it was about that album, but like I just listened to it.
Some stuff just hits different.
It does. So that was really cool. That was definitely surprising to me. I like all the other stuff, the symphonic metal. I like that stuff. I know or I've known for a long time that I've liked that stuff. So it was cool to kind of dive more into that. But I think those are the bands that kind of stuck out to me.
That's awesome. I love that you found some doom metal that you like.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Because that's so far out of your realm.
It is.
On an unrelated note, actually,
Okay.
I was in the top 0.5% of Spotify listeners for Equilibrium.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or 2020 Wrapped,
Yeah.
Spotify Wrapped,
Well,
whatever
they
it's called.
were, so if you guys haven't seen our Equilibrium reaction, right? They were like the whole reason why we started the channel,
Mhm.
right? Because one day on your drive home from work, it was a crazy day
Oh, that was
of
my
traffic.
drive to work.
Was it?
I was stuck in traffic for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just talked and you were like, you got to check out this song and then check out this song and then check out the middle part of this song. And we just talked for like 2 hours about music. And then when you were on your way back home from work is when I was like, you know what we should do? We should just film this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so like
And then
that.
it took us like 6 months to react
Yep.
to Equilibrium.
Yep.
But
So that was pretty cool. That was, yeah, I dig Equilibrium as well. So that
yeah,
was pretty cool.
I clearly very much like Equilibrium.
Yes.
Top 0.5%.
Well, that was really cool too. They actually shouted us out on their social media
Yeah, they
too.
did, which was crazy.
So that was neat. That was neat. And then we found so those are like the mainstream bands. But then we did a whole lot of underground music.
Yes.
And I've found some favorites from that. There are some favorites that we have too, just from reaching out on like Facebook groups and stuff that we've listened to, or that we've mentioned on like our earlier podcast episodes and stuff. That I know are still favorites for you. They're on your playlist for sure. They are.
I have 2 in particular: Diamonds by Sunset Gore and This Dying Breath by Idols and Illusions. Those are my 2 absolute favorite underground songs that we've discovered this year.
And Sunset Gore to me kind of fills that spot that Deftones Deftones like when
like a little bit industrial.
Yeah. That but like White Pony album, right?
Yes.
Like they pick up rather where Deftones left off there. So that was really cool. And they're local up here or
somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I think they might be in Canada.
Are both bands Canadian? Right?
Are they?
Isn't Idols
and Illusions? Oh, they might be. I can't remember.
Double check that.
And then Idols and Illusions though, they're a good brand. They're a good band.
Yeah.
They've got some like As I Lay Dying, Architects type sound. And it's they're really refreshing.
Yeah, they're Saskatchewan.
Nice.
Saskatchewan, Canada.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so that actually brings me into like the last thing that I really wanted to talk about was what I want to focus on.
Yes.
Because I feel like we found a really good like working of how our channel works. We're definitely more podcast based of like we like talking about it a whole lot more than just reacting, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, because I never realized, because I don't watch music reactions. I don't know if that sounds very pretentious. It's not for any reason. I just never did.
That's not your thing you go to YouTube for. Yeah.
I go to YouTube to watch people cook food. Anyway.
And cut soap.
I was about to say, and put me to sleep with like scratching noises. Anyway, so I didn't realize that people will upload reactions where they just like play the song. And they're like, oh yeah. Yeah. Then the song ends and they're like and subscribe for the next one. Like I didn't know that I had no idea that was like what people do.
And there's a few like huge people, and I'm not
that's the part that like confuses me.
I'm not
like, how did they get
on it.
500 million subscribers going?
Yeah. I'm not hating on it, but that's not why I watch reactions. Like there are a handful of reaction channels.
Tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, and that is because they break it down. They tell about, the music, they tell about the lyrics, that sort of stuff. And so like because that's what I wanted. That's what I thought would be good to implement for our reactions.
You know what one of my favorite things is though? When I have watched music reactions are when like super fans will watch like a new release video for a band who like either hasn't put out music in a long time or like went through like a major change, and like you get to see the super fan who's like dedicated their lives to being a super fan. See that video? That's always really cool. It's very emotional. Anyway.
Yeah, so but going into 2021, we kind of want to keep more of a focus on like the podcast style.
We'll still
music
do
reactions aren't going anywhere.
When there's new music, we will react to it.
Yeah, and there's definitely a bunch of bands that we want to go through and get some of their back catalog, and there's still so many bands that we haven't even heard of, haven't even listened to. So that's still going to be something that we're putting out every single action stuff. But going into, well, first off, the underground stuff, I wanted to talk about that. So we've gotten a lot of feedback on underground through our emails, through our social media, and it's gotten to a point where it's too many bands to just pack into 1 week every 3 months,
Yeah.
right? So I'd love to try to do one Saturday a month, have um sort of a like a 2 hour episode
Yeah.
where we just review a bunch of small bands and call it like Small Band Saturday.
Yeah.
Um and I don't know what you guys think about that, but I think that would be really awesome to kind of give them a
I
platform.
I think it would be really awesome. I think it would be awesome because we'll be experiencing new music together. You'll be experiencing new music. Um, like you said, the episode would be more like 2 hours long versus a bunch of like 20-minute episodes. I feel like we could talk about more bands
Yeah.
in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are just getting a lot of really amazing bands asking us to check out their stuff, and we want to make sure we do.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Just
know.
because.
I'm tired.
Yeah. No. And that would kind of go into more as well. We've talked about in the past, and I'd like to front run it a bit, but doing different like band interviews or talking with other content creators, and having sort of like an interview spotlight. But I don't know, maybe that's more suited for just our Spotify channel. Maybe it's still suited for YouTube. I'm not sure. Um, maybe both. I don't know. But would love to start uploading more of that kind of stuff for you guys too. Um, especially because I feel like we've kind of neglected like our Spotify
Oh yeah.
podcast,
Yeah, we'll definitely be uploading extended episodes, like whatever you see on YouTube, there's a chance that it'll turn into an extended episode on Spotify. Most of the time when we record for about an hour, and then he compresses it down into like a 20-minute video. And sometimes it's just a bunch of like weird awkward silences that have been cut out, but sometimes we do have to cut out chunks of conversation.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that we can start uploading those longer length episodes to Spotify.
Yeah, because it's always difficult uploading to YouTube. YouTube wants to see like a specific time frame and a specific, for the algorithm, right? They want to see viewership at a specific time and stuff. Whereas I don't really care, honestly. If you just came for the reaction and that's all you want, cool. If you came for the lyric breakdown and everything and like the topic discussion, awesome. But YouTube doesn't really like that.
Well, and like I think about like my YouTube habits, and when I have time to watch a video, I tend to find something that is anywhere from like 10 to 12 minutes long, simply because I'm either like on a break at work or I'm in between doing stuff with our kids, and so I'm like, let me watch a video really quick. But when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm typically driving. I'm typically like alone, like doing something around the house by myself or whatever, and I have an hour to 2 hours to dedicate to that time. And some podcasts I'll only get like half an episode in because they're like 3 hour long episodes. But I feel like it's easier to get back into a long podcast episode versus a long YouTube video. And I don't know why that is.
Just
I personally find it easier to like pause Spotify and then come back to it even a couple of days later.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. So I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, obviously, if you're at this part in the episode, you're one of our viewers that likes to hear everything. And we love that. So you guys let us know where would you rather hear that? I mean, does it make most sense on YouTube? Does it make sense on YouTube and Spotify? Is it easier for you there? And that brings up another topic of Patreon. Right. As of right now, we're kind of uploading as much as we possibly can, putting out as much content as we possibly can with our current schedules. Right. And so a Patreon you wouldn't see much more content just on Patreon, but it would just be a way to help support the podcast, right?
That would eventually lead into like exclusive Patreon only content.
And we've talked about doing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh no. I was just gonna say we talked about. Oh right. No, but we talked about doing like a $1 tier or whatever, where it's just like, hey, you wanted to throw some extra cash our way, and then when we have more time available and we can dedicate, then we'd open up, a higher dollar tier, for that extra stuff. But we've talked about, you know, opening up a Discord, and different things like that.
And then having, like, if you want a specific band reviewed or us to react to something specific, you could request it on Patreon.
Yeah.
And have probably a higher chance of that request being seen and fulfilled versus a comment getting lost on YouTube.
Right.
I mean, going through this top 10 list, I'm realizing how many comments we've gotten just in the last like 3 months, and like so many get just buried.
Yeah.
We have dug through, like, each of us scrolling like every
Yeah.
single comment to try and find someone's comment. So I also simply like the idea of Patreon and Discord to like
Help filter the clutter a little bit.
help filter some of the more chaotic stuff going on.
And then,
I mean, hand in hand with Patreon, a couple people have asked if there's like a PO box that they can send stuff to, and I never thought that would be a thing.
Right.
But if that's something that like more than, I don't know, 3 people would be interested in, we can figure out a PO box. And so yeah, if there's ever any time or like anything you've wanted to send us, whether it's like a hard CD version of like your band's EP or like a sticker, whatever, or just a letter,
whatever it is,
you could send it to a PO box. So let us know if that is something you would be interested in as well. And
I think that's it, though.
I think that's it.
I think we've covered everything. Yeah. I don't know. This has been a blast. This has honestly been a huge highlight.
This was like the one
good thing.
Really good thing for us that came out of 2020.
Yeah, no, I mean, and going into, right, because we started talking about it like the very beginning of 2020, before the pandemic hit, before all that stuff
like
happened.
Right after Christmas.
And so, yeah, when we got wind of like a shutdown and everything, we're like, we're ordering a camera, right?
I don't even think there was wind of a shutdown yet. And I came home and you were like, so I ordered a camera today. Yeah. And I was like, oh, cool. We should have a get to know us video sometime.
That would be cool. Do it like an Ask Me Anything sort of.
But not like anything. Like some.
Well, I mean, you can ask anything. We're just not going to answer everything. So.
We should do that. Yeah, we'll figure out we should do that here in the beginning of the year somehow.
Yeah.
When we hit 5,000 subscribers, we'll do a get to know us.
I think so.
Okay. Help us hit 5,000 subscribers if you want to see that video.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it. Happy New Year. We should have gotten like poppers.
Yay, confetti.
Well, I hope 2021 is kinder to you than 2020 was. And thank you, like you've said several times already. Thank you for joining us on this weird introduction to our podcast for this year. I hope you stick it through to 2021 and see what else we put out. That is all.
Catch you guys.
Don't say it.
Yes.
Don't say it. No.
See you guys next year.